One of the things when people always ask me, how do you get so much done? Like, my true answer is, I will share my systems with you. I will share my mindset with you. However, at the end of the day, the two main things that drive me is the type of business that I run, which gives me so much space to work on my business, not just in my business, but also the fact that I love it so damn much. And that is not an accident. I picked the niches that I love. I picked the people that light me the heck up. And I found a way to deliver my knowledge, to deliver my offer, my products to the world in a way that truly just feels so right. As a female online business owner with dreams of more income, more impact, and more freedom, you know there's more potential in your business waiting to be unlocked. But figuring out how to shape and transform your biz and get seen, loved, selling, and scaling can feel like, well, a mystery. So how do you cut through the noise, create offers that deeply resonate, sell and scale without you always being on, all while creating a life you love? That is exactly what this show is about. Welcome to Seen, Loved, Selling, Scale. I'm Corinda, your small biz marketing sidekick, digital offer strategist, and online biz bestie. With tens of thousands of digital offers sold, tens of thousands of people helped, and millions of dollars in revenue generated in my own business as a small business owner. And through this podcast, I am here to share it all. You'll gain clear, actionable insights, strategies, and shortcuts to master your online marketing, build scalable online offers, and create a business model that works for you as much as it works for your people, so you can grow your income, amplify your impact, and free up more of your time. Let's get started. Hello, and a massive welcome to you. Welcome to the Seen, Loved, Selling, Scale show, where I am so honored that you are taking the time out of your day to talk to me about time, which is exactly what you are going to discover over the next 2 episodes of this show. Because here is the thing. As small business owners, I truly understand what it feels like to just never have enough time to get all the things we want done. But here is the thing as well. I'm asked all the time how I do get so much done in my business. And I do want to say off the top here that I do not believe that we can be comparing our time with somebody else's, because every single person's schedule, family responsibilities, commitments, health, wellness, mental load at that exact moment is inherently different than somebody else's. So I do think that there is this almost unhealthy concept in small business where we think, oh, she got that program out so quickly, or she does this, or she put so much time into this. Like, I wish that was me. And instead, we can look inside ourselves to say, okay, like, I personally want to get more done right now for myself. And so I'm going to look internally to see how I can do that. And so when I'm asked how I get so much done, like, that's always the first thing I want to say. Like, my time and your time may not be the same, but I also really value the question and understand why people are asking the question, because they are likely looking for ways that they can get more done. So that is what over the course of the next 2 episodes, I am going to be sharing with you the things that I use within my own time management and my, systems overall and strategies overall to get a high volume of really important work done in my business really effectively and in flow. I'm going to be sharing those things with you. And in episode 1, so today's episode, I'm actually going to be covering some of the things that sometimes I think that we actually don't look at enough when it comes to getting more done in our businesses, or using our time in the best way, or feeling like we are really getting in flow and using what time we have, whatever that is for you, to the best of our abilities. And then in the next episode, we're going to go through more of the systems and the traditional stuff that people think about when they think about time management or getting more done. And that is really like the systems that I'm using, the tools that I'm using, the way that I actually like plan out and execute my weeks and my days. But let's dive into today's episode and talk about the stuff that I really don't think gets talked about as often as it should. And this is the stuff that empowers us to use whatever time we have available best. And I'm going to call this our time management powerful pre-work. So come with me today as we explore a number of concepts of the pre-work that I really do see when I'm working with people, when I look at my own business, when I'm looking at my peers, that the people who have this pre-work done in their business are truly the ones that, on top of actual time management systems and strategies, who are able to move what seems like faster, more efficient, with less roadblocks, with less stops and starts in their businesses. Now, that's not to say that they don't have some of these things. I want to be really clear when I say less of these things, because here's the thing that I really want to transparently share with you as well, or really just want to transparently remind you of, and that is that nobody's business is perfect, no matter how much we put people on pedestals or like to, fall into that comparison-itis. And like, this isn't a call out. I do it myself. I have done it myself, but I also know to check myself now and ask myself, like, is this a fact or is this maybe a feeling? Am I maybe self-deprecating? Am I maybe putting people on a pedestal because I've made presumptions around what is going on in the back of their business? And so it's really important that when we ask, like, doing that person gets more done, I seem to get less done, really going through and actually asking yourself, like, is this a fair comparison? Do they have a team? Do they have the same life circumstances as me? Do they have the same responsibilities? And so to transparently share around my business, yes, I get a lot done in my business. And I'm not going to gatekeep any of the reasons why. I'm going to go through and share what I believe really helps me to work efficiently and effectively. But also, it's really important for you to know that I don't have a full-time team in this business. However, I do have support. So I have a beautiful, incredible right-hand woman. She works part-time in the business, but I have had the privilege of working with her for years now. And we are really in a flow where she can do things in the back end of the business, daily, weekly, monthly, that do lighten my load and allow me to do more of what I want to do at the front end. So I do the majority of my own marketing. I do all of my own serving in the communities, and I do 99.9% of all the product development. Sometimes this beautiful human, she's an incredible graphic designer and marketer. Like, she will help me, let's say, like, whip up 250 templates for like complete content 24/7. Like, you don't want me designing for you. So she does that. So I do actually have this support. And as I scale again, I am actually looking at bringing in more support. I also use like services or contractors for things on more of an ad hoc basis. So I do have like a continuing support in my business in terms of bookkeeping. And that is just absolutely so helpful, especially that numbers is like my nemesis. And then I'll like ad hoc things at different times. So I have recently had someone help me, for example, like migrate some of my website stuff from WordPress to Kajabi, because I have a long-term plan to move everything over to Kajabi where I host my business. And so I do have things like this going on. I also don't have children, which any mothers or parents listening to this, anybody who's a carer, like, I take my hat off to you. Like, all of my friends and family have children. I'm like the cool aunt of the group. And I just absolutely am constantly in awe about like the mental load that parents and carers, the physical load, the emotional load, like the time that you pour into other people. Like, please know, I am not a parent. I don't have that going on in the background. I have the luxury of like waking up, making myself a coffee. The first decision that I'm making for the day is about my business, where you've likely made 30 decisions already. Let alone that you might have had a bad night's sleep and you've got 50 extra things to do today on your to-do list that I don't have. So like, I really want you to understand that the things I'm going to say to you can help you manage the time that you have, for sure. And I work with so many parents as well. And I know these things are helpful for them because they tell me they are. But also, we have to stop this comparison-itis where it's like, oh, how did you do that, Corinda? I want to do that. And I'm like, our situations are completely different. Let's look at what would be the most efficient and effective timeline for you to do this with what you have on your plate as well. And then on top of that, I also want to say that like my time management isn't actually perfect. I do get a lot done. However, there are days because I do manage my anxiety and my mental health where, it might not be at its best at that moment. And I am truly crippled from doing most stuff. So in those moments, in those days, sometimes this can stretch on for days at a time. It has been something that I've really managed most of my life now. And so I am really getting the support that I need around that. And I'm so grateful that I can reduce those periods compared to what they used to be. But there are days where I find it really difficult to do really anything in the business beyond what is muscle memory for me now, which might be like answering basically in my memberships and then everything else, like it's called a day. And so I share all this because I really want you to take away that the goal is not perfection. The goal is not comparisonitis. The goal is not to become a workhorse in any way. We are anti-hustle here. What the goal can be for us as business owners is just to be using our time the best way, the time that we have available, instead of saying like, I need to keep up with her. They look like they're doing it perfectly. Oh my gosh, I must be failing. I'm not moving fast enough. And really remind ourselves that our journey will move at the right pace compared to what's going on in our own lives and our own goals right now. But when we are pacing ourselves, we want to make sure that we are doing the best job for us. So in saying that, let's dive in and talk about some of these like time management precursors that we really want to be going through and focusing on before we even start getting into our day. And the biggest one, please hear this. The biggest thing that is going to help you move more effectively, more efficiently, get more done, work in flow in your business is clarity. And I mean clarity overall. From our niche clarity to our brand clarity, to our audience clarity, to our offer clarity, to the general direction that we are heading clarity, where we want to be in 3 and 6 months, and really aligning everything with that. Because without clarity, I find so many people are just doing work for the sake of feeling like they are busy, tinkering with this, tinkering with that, and they're not doing the right work. They're not able to prioritize what is urgent and important, what is really going to go through and actually move the needle in their business and get them closer to these goals. Or when they're doing the work, they are really taking so much extra time to do it. So often people will come to me and say like, it's taking me 2 hours to write a social media post and then I'm still doubting it. I go in this direction, that direction, this direction, that direction. And there is for a small portion of people here where they are actually overthinking. They have clarity and they are overthinking it. For a lot of people, however, it's actually that they lack clarity in saying, this is my audience, they have this pain point, this is what I want to say about this pain point, and then putting that out there. And, that still can take time to create, right? Because we might want to do a carousel, might have a few design things. So I'm not saying the post should take you 2 minutes, but I am saying that when we lack this clarity, we can either be working on the wrong things or the things we are working on take so much more time and still don't feel right, or they're not landing right as well with the people on the other side. So there are times in my business where I will literally, if anyone's been in the like co-community or this is Corinna World for a while, like I will literally disappear for a week. I'll still obviously be working in the background of my business where I'm like serving the community, but I won't create content. I won't send out emails. I will not be doing anything except for sitting in the back of my business, getting clarity. And are really one of those things where we have to balance this because action does bring clarity. And so I don't want you to use this to freeze yourself up. Not everything has to be absolutely clear. But if you are out there and you just really don't know in general, like who you are, what you do, why you do it, where you want to go overall, over a high level look at those things, then you do want to take the time to get clear on that. So I'm not saying you need to know every single post that you're going to put up for the next 3 months, but do you know who your IC are, what their pain points, desires, aspirations, situations are? Do you understand how you are the solution to that, how you make them feel around those things? And then do you know how like your products, services align with that enough for you to get out there and create content? Do you know that you want to be launching a product within the next 3 months? And do you know roughly what that product might be on because you have some kind of value ladder out there? Do you know when you should start potentially talking about some of those things online so you have like more direction with your social media? Do you know when you should be list building for that? The episode before this was speaking about my launch strategy. And because I have my launches mapped out roughly on my plan to profit, which is one of the systems I'll talk about in the next episode, I know, okay, I'm going to be launching in like 6 weeks. I'm going to do some list building first because that's going to be my goal before that launch to have an audience. So I now know all my content needs to go around that. I also know that I will be developing this launch content in the background as well. So that's potentially ready to go. Or if I want to develop it in the week, I know not to put anything else on that week. So I have time to do that content during that period. So I just cannot say enough how important clarity is if you want to get more done and use your time in the best way. I really have learned the hard way that action does bring clarity, but we need to have some form of clarity before we take action. So it's finding this sweet spot in there where sometimes you just need to literally tools down, go back, get the clarity. Get the clarity on your niche, on your brand, on your audiences, on your offers, on where you roughly want to go. Make sure that this is making sense for you and you're not just doing stuff for the sake of doing it while everything just feels completely cloudy. Disappear. Go ghost mode. Don't post for a week. It's absolutely okay. Your social media will not die. Your brand will not fall off after a week. You will come back stronger and start doing more with your time. The next pre-work or time management pre-element that I want to talk about is decision making. So once you do have clarity in your business, how do you feel your decision making is sitting right now? Because decision making is something that I also know people can vary with in their levels of speed and execution and confidence. And one of the things that I really do think that I've trained myself to be over time is a strong decision maker, to where I will literally know on my plan to profit, for example, that something is coming up. So let's just give you a general decision. So every month in the club, I need to go and provide the amazing club members with like a template of some kind. And it's normally tied directly to a strategy that I think is really important right now. And sometimes there might be 2 or 3 strategies that I find is important. And I really have to be a quick decision maker. I don't want to lose 2, 3, 5 hours. I don't want to start work on something or have my beautiful right-hand woman start work on something and then realize, oh no, I better flip back to this one. Oh no, actually I'm going to change back to this one. So we really do want to work on our decision-making skills if we are finding that it is difficult to make a decision. And to go back a step again, a lot of the time when people are struggling to make decisions, it is because of potentially they're missing that clarity as well, or they haven't made a decision in that clarity exercise about where they want to go. And here is the thing, decisions can be reversed because action brings clarity, but I want you to strive to make decisions faster. Do not go into over-analysis. Over-analysis equals paralysis. Go through and really trust your intuition more. I talk about this a lot in the school and with the school community. And that is that our intuition is not some woo-woo thing. And even if it was, that wouldn't be an issue. No issues with woo here. But what it is a culmination of every single piece of data that your brain has collected over your entire lifetime. You are literally like a supercomputer, right? Like we think ChatGPT is incredible. You are 100 times what ChatGPT can put out. And so your intuition is actually telling you things based on everything that you know. And if you start to tap into that and start to really consider what your brain, what your heart, what your head is naturally telling you, assessing that, of course, from like a logical perspective as well without over-assessing it, but then making decisions from that standpoint of like, okay, I've got these 3 potential strategies that I could do this month. Which one is it going to be? Listening to my intuition, backing that up with logic, making the decision and moving forward. And sure, if for some reason a week or 2 later, this other strategy becomes even more important, I have the CEO power in my business to go, actually, the decision I made was wrong. I'm going to change it, or I'm going to give them both things, or I'm going to move this thing to another time, or whatever it might be, right? But I made the decision, I got to work. And here's the thing, 80-90% of the time, you're not going to reverse those decisions potentially. You got out there, you helped someone, you made income, you made impact. You might then change direction later on. Like I've made decisions around business programs, run that business program for a year, and then decided it needed to go in a different direction. But the decision I made was never wrong. It was right for that point in time, and there was benefits all around, and now I'm changing it. And so 80-90% of the time, your decisions are going to be right, and your decision making is going to save you time and get you places quicker. And sure, if for those 10% of decisions that you made with more speed, you think I need to go through and reverse that, incredible, we can do that. But going slower with decisions or being paralyzed around decisions isn't going to avoid things being wrong. At the end of the day, things can still change. We have literally just poured more time into a process that potentially could be quicker if we really work on our decision-making muscle. The next thing that is massive when it comes to our time management pre-work is the beautiful boundaries that we have in place in our business. Boundaries with our communities and boundaries with ourselves as well. And tightening up your boundaries can truly bring you back so much time. And boundaries are really going to be different for everybody, depending on what type of business you run, depending on what type of client you have, what type of service you offer. So we're going to talk about boundaries in a general sense here, but there are some boundaries that I often see a pattern of and have experienced myself where a lack of these boundaries actually go through and lead to a lot of loss of time. So where you might have expected, I have 4 hours to work on something today, you now have 3 hours, 2 hours, no hours to work on that because of these boundaries not being in place or being broken. And the biggest one that I would have to say is the boundary that I see a lot of entrepreneurs cross is normally scope creep. Now, that's going to look different for absolutely everyone. In my membership, in my Content Mastery Club membership, scope creep might look like answering questions other than content marketing. It might look to somebody else, saying that there are 3 revisions allowed within their program or within their contract, and you're up to the 6th revision and, you haven't really said anything in terms of holding that boundary. It could be that you have said to clients that you work 6 days a week in Voxer, and then all of a sudden on the 7th day, you're like, I'm just going to jump in there and check. Or you have asked them to send you voice notes no longer than 10 minutes. And, the voice notes are 20 minutes, mini podcast episodes. And, you really haven't said, how can we work together to, tighten this up a little bit for your time and mine? Whatever this looks like to you, right? Like I've seen so many different boundaries across so many different businesses that I've been able to look into. But if the boundary is right for you and the client, it is right for you and the client. Like you might have heard some of those boundaries then and gone like, I could never put a boundary in place like that. That's okay. You put whatever boundaries are right for you in your business. However, you do want to make sure that you are enforcing those boundaries. There are also boundaries that you may have in place for yourself. So for example, the boundary where you've said to your clients you're in there 6 days a week in Voxer and you're in there on the 7th day, that's a you boundary. It can create resentment where you start to resent the space, which we don't want, but also you have chosen potentially to break that. That's not a client sending 20-minute voice notes instead of 10-minute voice notes. This is you going into that space. And so this can look like anything. It can look like how often you're going to scroll social media in a day. It can look like what time you are going to start work. Like, what are your boundaries? Are they defined? And then are they enforced in the best way possible? There needs to be a different word for enforced. I need to come up with something different because that sounds a little bit hard. However, are you holding the energy around protecting your time, around protecting your energy, around protecting your clients as well? Because this is an entire conversation for a different day, and we go through deep in this in Scalable Business School. But boundaries are important for your clients as well. If you're not holding boundaries outside of time management in general, if you're letting spaces become disorganized, overwhelming, if you are, not adhering to looking after yourself, your own energy, your own output, you your clients and other people in your world can be impacted by that. Like the person who was up to the sixth revision of the logo or whatever it might be, and you now don't have the energy to work on that other client's program enough, or you aren't showing up on social media that day because you essentially are now, exhausted, and none of this has been monetized for you to be able to work more, sure, but then hire someone to help you with other things potentially. So this is really what we need to be doing. But in this scope of this episode, talking about boundaries, it is really something that your time can be affected when we do not have boundaries in place. And then here is the fourth thing that I want to talk about when we are talking about the time management pre-work. And this is a biggie, so lean on in. Does your business light you the hell up? Because this is massive to getting more done in business. And there are going to be times where we're working on things that we don't necessarily love. And I'm not talking about when tax time comes around and you think, I don't love this, so Karuna told me I don't have to do it anymore. Or where you've committed to a program and you're, 8 weeks into the 12 weeks and you think, I don't love this anymore, I'm just going to pull the pin on it. Like you and I both know that that's not what we're talking about. But what I am truly talking about here is, are you creating a business you want to work in? Or are you creating a business that is truly not serving you? It is not lighting you up. It is not creating the version of success that you want. And you feel stagnant. You feel stale. You feel stuck. You feel resentment. You feel this really like repulsion to a lot of your business. And that is going to play massive, massive, massive issues in your world to getting more done. One of the things when people always ask me, how do you get so much done? Like my true answer is, I will share my systems with you. I will share my mindset with you. However, at the end of the day, the two main things that drive me is the type of business that I run, which gives me so much space to work on my business, not just in my business. And I will talk about that more in a second, but also the fact that I love it so damn much. And that is not an accident. I picked the niches that I love. I picked the people that light me the heck up. And I found a way to deliver my knowledge, to deliver my offer, my products to the world in a way that truly just feels so right. And so I have this pull to get into my business, so much pull that sometimes I have to pull myself back and be like, okay, like the work will still be the next week, Karuna. Like you can work on it then. It's okay. Like tools down for the day. Like that is literally how much I love it. And this is really so often what we need to be looking at. And your version of your ideal business might be completely different to mine. And that is okay. I'm not saying you need to have my business type, but what I'm saying is that you want to be cultivating the business type that lights you up. Now, there's also going to be things within business that potentially do not light you up, even in a business that you love. And in those situations, can you hire eventually? Like I understand it's not always going to be something that works right now, but can you look at, is offboarding this task to somebody else going to free up more time in your business where you can make more income and impact? And I really do know that sometimes we think like, oh, sending that money out feels like it's gone. But I really do try and practice an abundance mindset where I reshape my thoughts around things like this and my thoughts become reality. And so what I mean by that is that when I, for example, in my business needed to offboard my bookkeeping, like this was something that was absolutely keeping me so stuck. I was spending way too much time on it. Numbers and I in that version, like are not actually friends, working out percentages and GST and tax rates and, matching this with that. Like it's just not my thing. And so this was taking me so long in my business that if I was to pay somebody else to do that and take that time back, I could have been developing products, selling more, marketing more, all the things that I love, 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 love to do that is going to create me income to cover that bill and then some as well. And the other thing was, because there was this thing in my business I didn't like doing, and scaling the business was going to create even more of that thing I didn't like doing. I really had this not so like unconscious block to scaling the business even more. I was like, oh my gosh, if I scale, I'm going to have like double, triple the amount of bookkeeping. And then I was really being held back by that, scared of like taxes, scared of getting that wrong. So there was all of these things where when I went and handed that off, my time management became so much better and I just loved my business even more. So this is just one tiny example in when you love your whole business, there still might be things that you don't necessarily love about it that you still want to shift. But I really want you to step back and look at your business as a whole. Do you feel resistance to showing up? And sure, not every day is going to be perfect. You can have the best business in the world and just feel flat and just need a day. Like I totally get that. And that does definitely happen to me too. But overall, are you lit up by this business? Is it something that brings something so positive to your life, a feeling to you that you are like magnetized or drawn to it instead of being pushed away from it? And this is really one of those time management pre-work elements that people are like, I don't ever seem to be getting anything done. And like, we'll start with the surface stuff, working through their time management. And I'm like, everything's perfect. Their decision-making is great. They're really clear. And sometimes I'll be like, do you like your business? And they'll be like, no. And so that is truly where we then start to make change. And we get to shake things up and create a business that they love, where all of a sudden they're saying, I have got more done in 4 weeks working less than I had in 4 months before, working around the clock, but just having this true resistance to the business. And so things were slower. They weren't energetically as behind them. They had fear of showing up and that was creating resistance. So social media content was taking longer because they didn't want to put things out there because it would drive their business in an even further incorrect direction for what they truly wanted. And you can really see this domino effect go forward. So I hope that you've gotten something out of this episode where we really can see that time management doesn't actually just come down to what you do in the blocks of time that are available to you or what systems or tools you use. It is a massive part of it, of course, once you have this pre-work done. So in the next episode, we are going to look into systems and strategies, tools and techniques that I find help myself and others and definitely share those. But this is the pre-work that truly matters. Making sure you have that clarity in your business so that you know where your time should be going and able to use that right. Making sure we have this decision-making element, really flexing that decision-making muscle to not overanalyze our decisions and paralyze ourselves because of it, leaning into our intuition, backing that up with logic and making decisions. Making sure we have boundaries in place, that we are enforcing our boundaries, adhering to our beautiful boundaries for others and ourselves to not just protect our time, but there are bigger ricochets as well. But time is certainly one of them. And then making sure that you have a business that lights you the heck up, a business where you will get into flow easier when you are working, a business where you will want to switch on that computer and dive straight in instead of the 20 minutes that you kind of spend like looking around the computer and the desktop and avoiding what you really need to do that day. And if you've ever had a business that you're just not vibing with, you will know that feeling, right? These are the things that we really want to make sure we have the pre-work done with to make our time management truly magical. Because you can have all of the systems in the world, you can have all of the best tools, you can have like the prettiest time management, project management, to-do list management space, you can have all of the pretty journals on your desk. But if you don't have these things, things are always still going to feel so much harder. So there you have it, some food for thought so you can assess where you are in this time management pre-work. And then I will see you in the next episode where we're going to go into part 2, talking tools, systems, and strategies. Thanks for tuning in to another episode of the Seen, Love, Selling, Scale podcast. I hope today's episode left you feeling inspired, fired up, and empowered to make serious moves that align with your goals and version of success, both in life and business. If you loved what you heard, head over to www.thisisco.com.au to find all the links and resources mentioned in today's episode. And if you aren't already following the show, make sure you hit that follow button so you never miss a future episode when it drops. I'll see you again next week, same time, same place, same goal to get you seen, loved, selling, and scaling. See you then.